You're playing basketball in Queens. The court is new, fresh paint, working lights, rows of seats built into the edges. It's the nicest court in the neighborhood, and it sits 3 feet below the sidewalk. That detail is easy to miss. It's also the entire point. Because when a storm hits South Jamaica, this court has a second job. It fills with water, 2 feet deep, on purpose. The city spent $6 million on a basketball court that is supposed to flood.
That's not an accusation. It's the city's own description.
The Department of Environmental Protection keeps a page about this place, and under a photo of the court it states, in plain text, that it is designed to fill with water during extreme rainfall events. Most infrastructure hides what it does. This one hides in what it is. On a dry day, nothing about it reads as a machine. Summer camp kids run full court. Neighbors take the shaded seats. The steps drop toward the paint like a small stadium. Look again at those steps, though. They are also the rim of a basin. The court floor is the bottom of a shallow bowl, and every slope, curb, and drain around it was drawn to move water toward this exact rectangle. The people who designed it don't really call it a court. They call it a water square. And to understand why New York wanted a basin here, dressed as a basketball court, you have to start with what's under the street.
Under the street is a sewer system with a number attached.
For most of the last century, New York designed its sewers to swallow about 1 3/4 inches of rain in an hour. Most of the pipes are more than 50 years old, and large parts of Brooklyn and Queens run on sewers smaller than that. Some blocks of southeast Queens are only now getting storm sewers at all. For decades, the number mostly held. Then, the rain changed. In 2020, the Federal Climate Assessment moved New York City out of its old category entirely. The city is now classified as humid subtropical. A DEP official described it as moving 500 miles south without leaving home. The storms made the same move. The 4 most intense hours of rain in 50 years of Central Park records have all happened since 2021. The worst came on the night of September 1st, 2021, when the remnants of Hurricane Ida dropped more than 3 inches of rain in a single hour on a system built for 1 3/4. Water went where water goes, down. 13 New Yorkers died that night, 11 of them in basement apartments across the city. None of them in South Jamaica. But the water came here too. Residents describe rain that pooled in the low corners of the development and sat for days with nowhere to drain. Sometimes the sewers pushed back, and what came up was not rain. One longtime resident says the smell would settle into people's homes. The city knew all of this. What it did next is the strange part. The obvious fix is bigger pipes, and the city is building some. But a sewer upgrade takes 7 to 10 years, and the big one underway in Brooklyn, $390 million under Knickerbocker Avenue, won't carry its first storm until 2037. The rain is not waiting for 2037. So the engineers asked a different question. Not, how do we get water away faster? Instead, where can water wait? A cloudburst, the kind of storm that drops 2 or 3 inches in an hour, doesn't actually need a bigger sewer. It needs the sewer spared the spike. Hold the surge somewhere harmless for a few hours, release it slowly, and the same old pipes can cope. Not instead of bigger pipes, while the bigger pipes get built. The idea has a pedigree. Copenhagen rebuilt streets around it after a catastrophic 2011 downpour. Rotterdam built public squares that double as basins, plazas designed to go underwater and then hand the land back. New York had been studying both since before Ida. It partnered with Copenhagen and published its first cloudburst study in 2017, 4 years before that September night. Then it went looking for a first site, and it chose a public housing campus in southeast Queens, where the sewers were small and the flooding was routine. Here is how the water gets in. Rain that lands on the surrounding roofs, walkways and streets runs off the way it always has. But catch basins along those paths now intercept it and feed it into new pipes underground, and the pipes run toward the lowest ground on the site. The lowest ground on the site is no longer an accident. The land was shaped so that gravity finishes the job, and the paths end at the court and the planted ground beside it. On a storm night, seen from above, the water arrives from every direction and does something city water never does. It goes exactly where it was told. The court fills from the paint upward, a tide with no ocean, and the city says it can pond about 2 feet deep. But the visible flood is the smaller half of the machine. Under the slab sit storage galleries, 37,850 cubic feet of hollow space, connected to the surface by pipe. Off to the sides, 2 planted basins take their share. They look like ordinary lawn with wildflowers, blue grass and black-eyed Susans. And underneath them is another 6,750 cubic feet of stone and storage that filters water into the soil. Add it all up, and the system holds roughly 330,000 gallons from a single storm. Half an Olympic swimming pool, parked under a basketball court. One boundary worth saying out loud: that number belongs to the whole system, the court and the galleries and the planted basins together, not to the slab alone. The court is the face of the machine, not the whole of it, and the $6 million bought all of it, not just a court. Across a year, the city expects the site to manage about 3.5 million gallons. Then comes the important part. It lets go, slowly. Once the storm passes, the galleries drain down over a day or two into the ground and the storm system, slow instead of all at once. The sewer never meets the peak. That is the entire trick. The flood still happens. It just happens in a place designed to survive it, on a schedule the pipes can afford. Which raises the question the whole project turns on. The place designed to survive it is a playground. So who agreed to that?
Because the trade is real. When the system works, the court is gone. After a serious storm, the nicest court in the neighbourhood is a pond, and it stays one until the storage below empties and the surface can follow it down. The design promised residents 2 days at most. Whether the finished court hits that mark in every storm is not something the city has published, and I'll say that plainly. What residents can see is the other side of the trade. People at South Jamaica houses describe walkways that used to flood and stay flooded. Now, they say, the water goes down. One woman who has lived there 40 years put it simply: you don't have to tiptoe through it anymore. The early storms since completion have gone mostly the way the engineers hoped. Mostly. After one recent rain, part of the court held a stubborn puddle, and a local Parks Association director ended up sweeping the water to the drain himself. He also has notes about the double rims. This is still New York. Oddly, that's the tell that something worked. The complaints are about puddles and rims, the ordinary complaints of a living court, not about water in anyone's home. The resident council president describes the project almost in reverse. To him, the water system is the thing the city built, and a beautiful court arrived as the side effect. People love it, he says. Getting to that sentence took 7 years. It did not start with love. It started in 2018, with a master plan and design meetings between the city and the people who live above those sewers. South Jamaica Houses is public housing, home to families who have watched promises come and go for decades. The designers who ran the process, a Brooklyn landscape firm called Grain Collective with architect Mark Vouters and engineers Hazen and Sawyer, describe walking into rooms full of earned skepticism. Residents worried the campus would become a construction zone that never ended, and the firm's founder has been frank about a harder truth. It lands badly to lecture people about climate resilience while their kitchens are broken. So the team flipped the pitch.
They stopped leading with the storm and led with the court. The old one was cracked and uneven. Residents wanted a real one, with seating, lighting, a place for movie nights and gatherings, and they shaped what the space would be in dry weather, which is most of the time. The flood engineering rode underneath, wearing the court like a coat. 7 years after those first meetings, in August 2025, construction finished. The following year, the New York chapter of the American Society of Landscape Architects gave the project a Merit Award. They didn't file it under drainage, they used its real name, the South Jamaica Water Square. And South Jamaica was never meant to be the only one. The Housing Authority keeps a list of developments in line for cloudburst projects. The second is already underway at Jefferson Houses in East Harlem, and its design tells you where this is going, because there is no sunken court at all. The ground stays level, and the storage hides under permeable pavement, invisible unless you know. 4 more, from Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn to the Bronx, are on the drawing boards right now, and the Parks Department is next, with work coming at Rufus King and Archie Spiegner parks. Then there is the neighbourhood scale. In April 2026, the city announced $95 million for Homecrest in southern Brooklyn. Porous pavement in the streets themselves. Storage under public land spread across 350 acres, built to manage an estimated 30 million gallons a year. The court in Queens manages 3.5 million. The official who oversees the program has said future projects could run 5 times the size of the first, and the department has put a number on the citywide need: $30 billion. 2 caveats belong out loud here. Some of this depends on federal money, and that money just spent a year in court. Washington canceled the program behind hundreds of millions of dollars of this work. States sued. In December, a judge ruled the cancellation unlawful and ordered the money restored. Whether every project sees its share on schedule is still an open question. And none of it is fast. By the city's own testimony, a project like this takes 7 to 10 years from plan to finish. The flood map of the 2030s is being drawn right now, in community rooms, between storms. Back in South Jamaica, on a dry afternoon, none of that is visible. There is just a good court. Kids call next. The ball echoes off the brick towers. The seats fill in the evening. Nothing about it asks to be noticed, but you know what it is now. The steps are a shoreline. The paint is the floor of a reservoir. The lowest point for blocks in any direction is the exact spot where the neighbourhood sends its kids to play, because the people who built it know the water is coming, and they chose where it will land. The city has stopped promising to keep the rain out. It has started deciding where the rain goes. Some storm night soon, the game will end early. The water will rise exactly as drawn, and within 2 days it will be gone, drained back down through the floor. A flood with an appointment. The court is a promise written in fresh paint. The storms are bigger now, we know. We built for it. It is ready to go under so the block doesn't have to.